The Crooked Epic. 1. Inn. 1. The Inn of Maniacal Madness. 2. Ted. The Graveyard. 2C. 1. In the morning, Ted was awakened at almost the same time as Alex, with light rain tapping and drizzling against the window in his bedroom. As Ted leaned over on his side to look at the weather, he heard the creaking floorboards in the hallway. Stretching his arms above his head, he pulled himself up in bed and wondered if this would affect the postponed fishing trip. Alex was not even downstairs yet as Ted swung around the corner of his open bedroom door. He saw him starting down, so Ted rushed out to the railing and followed him. It was much later than Alex normally stayed in his bedroom, and Ted had to jump on a rare occasion to catch his attention and assist with filling his tackle box. Alex had told him before they made it to bed that previous night that he had gotten the fishing poles out of the tool shed and fixed both lines. After supper, Ted had gotten some lures out of the basement and looked over his stash of fishing gear. Alex had spent the rest of the afternoon in the den room looking at a magazine until supper, then switched the radio on. After Ted finished the chapter he was on of his borrowed library copy of Alice in Wonderland, he joined Alex to listen to the comedy show. A while later, Ted returned to the front study to his desk and read a little of the magazine he had set down. It was an all-sports magazine their father had left. Imagining the passages he had read of Alice in Wonderland the previous night, he sat down at the kitchen table for breakfast. Mrs. Wilson was cooked the scrambled eggs for them. Your father mentioned how we were supposed to go fishing today, but I don't know if you looked outside. It's still raining from last night. This was upsetting to Alex, and he groaned, unhappy with the dismal outlook of the wet and foggy morning as his fork hit his plate as he finished eating. It was unlike Alex to act like this, but so early was the bad news given that it did not seem out of character to Ted, and Mrs. Wilson ignored his reaction. It did not seem unreasonable that they should have extra time to invite their friends to come along with them unless they could make some arrangements ahead, so Ted did not show the same amount of discouragement. Besides the lack of necessary planning, Ted had not thought of any friends he could bring, so while Alex would have to figure out how to let Jacob know to cancel, there was still the same opportunity for him tomorrow and an improved chance for Ted. Ted sat in his bedroom and began to thumb through the encyclopedia. First, he looked at the sections on land mammals and moved the sections on birds. The idea was to flip straight to the section on fish after a few readings, which was his routine, followed by plants and trees, bacteria, and minerals. The continents were separate readings individually, with all his favorite native species on each becoming a sketch toward the end of Ted's studies. Knocking at the door, Alex entered with his cast on and some magazines in his hand. Hey, I got some stuff from the city when I was at the hospital. Magazines from the library and one I bought at the store yesterday. Action stories and weird tales. Have you read any of these? He handed Ted the issues, each with some attractive covers. Intriguing titles and famous authors were printed on them with eye-catching graphics. Ted's appraisal immediately was a high value. He decided to set aside his Alice in Wonderland for the new offerings. Wow, can I look at them when you're done? Positively, Ted. I'll let you know. Too bad about fishing, but don't worry about it. If it keeps lightening up, tomorrow will be a better day. I'm not going to mope around either. I already called Jacob. Saturday is better for him too. He said it'll give him time to run into town and grab extra sinkers. They split up to read in their rooms, yet Alex and Ted met back up in the hallway to go back downstairs together as soon as their father came in. Their father had a frantic, strange look, nearly whispering with Mrs. Wilson and gesturing to the car through the dining room window. He saw them as they both slowed down near the stairway to listen and turned toward them. Boys, I'm sorry, but I'm going to take Mrs. Wilson back to Milford shortly. There's been a change and the fishing trip is canceled until tomorrow. They had already known the first set of news he gave them, but he continued speaking about things that he thought would help them to come to a mutual compromise. Before we go, I want to ask if you would like it if Benjamin and his older brother Gregory came with you tomorrow. Teddy, I ran into your friend Benjamin's father downtown and mentioned how the two of you were anxious to get your vacation started. Alex, Gregory is a little older than you are. He's thinking about joining the service. If you all stayed together on your own, you would be fine. Benjamin's parents, the Grants, said they would arrive in the afternoon to help escort people back home. Okay, and Jacob said he'll be able to come too, but not Clark. Oh, that's good. I need the two of you to come with me to drop off Mrs. Wilson. I have to leave right after I drop her off. You two will have to stay home alone tonight. Their father had been on assignments like this before, so Alex and Ted readily accepted his absence and were prepared to leave with Mrs. Wilson promptly after a big lunch which they all shared. Mrs. Wilson lived on the outskirts of Milford along a country road. The Goods pulled up in their car to a small ranch house with her husband sitting out front, graying hair and glasses, on their porch with a corncob pipe. He waved for them as Mrs. Wilson walked up the steps and smiled at her as she entered the door, turning to her left side to smile at him. Their father waved back and pulled away from their driveway, making a U-turn in the road. The car ride seemed to take longer than it normally should have, as if their father was purposefully driving slower or making turns unnecessarily to waste some time before they returned to the house. Especially on the way back, after he made only sparse small talk with Mrs. Wilson about grocery lists, he was even idler in any conversation of vagary. Something unspoken was disturbing his thoughts as they cruised, and although he tightly concealed his emotion, it was noticeable to the brothers in the back seat. Finally, he broke the silence. I was bringing a prisoner to the New Hampshire State Prison named Barry Reeves, he began, but the guards who were put in charge of him let him escape. It was unprecedented, and the reports say they can't figure out how he got out. Being forced to take the ride into Milford, early curfew and fishing cancellation, and Father's overall worrisome interaction with them were all the signs of how Father's absence was more than the average fare of weekend agendas to which they were accustomed. They were eager to adapt to any of the family's circumstances. However, indemnified or stupefied by the developments that were occurring, they did feel an unnatural aura of strange danger. Yet, as a crow rushed its beating wings into a low flight from a telephone pole to their right, up across a rolling hillside, a sense of adventure was ardently building within them. Whatever the motivation, their energy was strengthening, and they were filled with a desire to go forth from out of the captivity of the suspense. As they pulled into their driveway, Father was still solemn and repressed. Ted tried quietly to ask Alex what he was going to do with himself for the afternoon. Alex said he would finish reading one of the stories in Weird Tales. Alex got out of the car and Ted slowly started toward the house, stopping by the picnic table as Ted saw Alex pass him. He was not sulking, but his voice seemed to be at a lower tone than the day before, perhaps due to his arm and the pain he was in. Hesitant to go on with the day without something to make Alex's mood better, Ted remembered that he had left a few magazines with stories in them up in the loft. So he waited for Father to get almost to the house, walking behind Alex, who entered at the side door, and announced to them that he was going up to grab them off the table and bring them inside.